I would like to welcome everyone to our product showcase presentation, VARA Smart Technical Airtight Systems, organized by New York Passive House and presented by Patel. I would like to thank Patel for your support throughout the years of New York Passive House, which makes our events like today possible. It is my pleasure to introduce Jose Sosa, who is a New York Passive House volunteer and will introduce today's presenter, Hugh. So Jose, please take it away.
Hugh Wiersky. I hope I got the last name correct. He's the founder and technical director of Patel, and he established Patel in 2011 with the background in architecture and engineering. Vast experience at all levels of design and construction, construction management, and particular experience in low energy building sector. He is committed to bring building physics approach into this area, and he's going to be talking today about their new VARA Airtight product system, which is a solution featuring smart properties developed to provide air and moisture control within the building envelope for more comfortable, durable, and energy efficient building. So we look forward to learn all about it. You can take it away, Hugh.
Great. Thanks, Jose, Andres, and Caleb. So yeah, I'm just going to share a screen. So yeah, the idea today, I think we've kind of, I suppose, first of all, we've talked about the option of giving me questions during the presentation or afterwards. I'm basically open. If there's something you feel you need to ask, don't hesitate. You can put it in the chat, or I guess maybe you can unmute and ask the question. So what we're trying to delve into today is to give an idea about the VARA Smart Technical Airtight System. Hopefully at the end of it, you've got a clear understanding of what a smart system is and how it works and how it can benefit, or maybe when you should use it. As Jose has said, I'm a director at Patel. I'm also a founder. I'm a certified passive house designer, and I guess I would call myself a building physicist, where while we're involved in the sale of products, we're really very much focused on the physics of how things are working and kind of how that relates to product development. We are an Irish company. We have a global presence. We operate in North America, the UK, Ireland, and some European markets. Founders are architects and engineers. So we would have kind of went down the passive house route initially quite a long time ago, and found our calling, if you like, in the building physics side of things. And that really led us into the route of, I guess, what we could develop. And yeah, we've been trying to do things, I guess, without looking backwards, really looking forwards to see what the actual needs of the sector are and to come up with smart solutions for, passive house building, like I say, without taking kind of existing products. I guess the products that are the areas that we were least interested in is manufacturing and distribution, but I'm happy to say we've got that worked out really well. We've got local stock in Connecticut, and together with pretty much a next day or 2-day delivery time frame on that. We still operate on our building technical expertise and support. We can do a lot of kind of internal testing for ourselves that leads us into R&D. So, always we're looking at new and different products that could help to simplify things on site, or even just to improve performance. So a little bit back on airtightness. So why do we build airtight? I guess the reason that everyone has is we do it to lower energy costs. That's maybe the first and the easiest one. It's becoming more and more important. It's not just for the economic side of things. It's to lower the energy consumption of our buildings, and that's a huge factor in terms of climate change. We know that we have to kind of sell those reasons to our clients or our end users, and improving comfort levels is the big part of that. So generally we can help to have less overheating, warmer temperatures, and more even kind of overall and comfortable space for people. We do find that people, as it is with any passive house, they can reduce their base heating level as soon as the dwelling becomes airtight. So kind of if we compare two houses built to a similar standard with similar R values, one that achieved 0.6 or certified passive house airtightness and the other that didn't, you'll find that the temperature, the general heating temperature, is a little lower in the passive house, and they don't need to have it that high to have the warmth or comfort. Point 3 was one we used to find a little bit hard to get people to focus on, and that certainly hasn't been an issue this year. COVID has really helped people focus on indoor air quality, and kind of, you know, it's a very kind of compelling reason for us to think about, you know, how much air changes we have or what's providing our air change. But generally, your smart systems are very important in allowing your ventilation system to work to its maximum efficiency, but also helping to prevent mold and VOCs or pollutants entering into your property. As an engineer, I'm always pretty focused on the structural integrity, and that is it's really important in terms of the building longevity. So the better quality our airtightness system, the longer we can expect our building to last. So it's absolutely related to that. It's I suppose really all about the control of vapor movement and vapor through the construction or the building fabric. If we get that wrong, you'll have a buildup of moisture or vapor inside the construction, which will lead to, you know, a breakdown in timber. So kind of focusing on the smart system as an overall, we've tried to kind of go into some more detail on this, and I suppose, you know, maybe an easy way to remember or to understand. So they are, I suppose, a sustainable key building component engineered to be a versatile and highly efficient solution for the insulation. The moisture variable, the characteristics of the air and vapor control layer, it guarantees maximum protection in the building. So where moisture levels are critical in wintertime, the product can reduce the amount of vapor entering the building. As a human skin, the technical adaptive building component, it has a self-regulation property. So it kind of acts like a human skin, and it refers to the self-regulation between the exterior and the interior of the building envelope. When we look at relative humidity, generally buildings are looking to work within a kind of a 40 to 70% relative humidity, and interstitial condensation can be controlled by using the smart air and vapor control layer. And finally, thermal performance, the correct smart layer is integral in allowing our insulation to achieve the planned R values. So without the air tightness, it can't work like that. Just a couple of graphics again, just to go a little bit further and getting that kind of understanding across. The VARA Plus or VARA fluid products, they allow the construction to dry into the building in the summertime, and they will then prevent additional kind of vapor from entering the construction in wintertime. So it's an adaptive layer, always changing relative to the relative humidity. It's quite a nice new graphic that we've prepared, and I think it helps to get a nice clear understanding of how the products work. You can see in summertime, the pores in the membrane have opened, allowing the construction to dry, and in wintertime, they've closed again, thereby, you know, reducing the amount of vapor passing into the construction. I wanted to take a kind of a worst case situation with using Woofy. So for those of you that don't kind of use or know about Woofy, it's a dynamic modeling tool. So it gives us it's a way for us to assess building construction over time. It takes account of pretty precise climate data, elevation, how different materials behave, you know, in that they can hold and release water vapor. So we can even kind of build in the actual airtightness of the building. So we can get a really precise idea of how the building fabric is going to perform over time. It's a software we use as part of our building analysis, but it's a free service that we provide. So if you have a typical building construction you're looking at and you're wondering how the VARA system, will help or make that work better, by all means, reach out and we can run your analysis with us. So in this construction, it's high altitude. We're focused in this graph on the water content in the insulation layer. It's a high roof pitch and it's actually vapor tight externally. So what we're comparing is different layers. They're different airtight layers. So on the left of the graph, you have the water content. So essentially a reducing kind of line shows that the construction overall is drying. So if we take the highest one, it's the OSB. That product has no smart function. It's a fixed perm product, and we can see that it's increasing every year. Worse in the winter, the peaks are higher, but it's a definite failure. If we move then to the next in line, it's a standard fixed perm ST. Again, not rising as quickly, but an absolute failure. The same with the standard variable and the same with the fixed perm. So that's OSB, standard variable, fixed perm, and PE. The only one that's working in this situation is the VARA Plus. So it's drying year on year, ending up with a safe level of water accumulation. So essentially, yeah, every summer it'll get a little bit drier. The graph will go up a little in the winter again. So generally in Partel, we try to focus on systems, and we've really kind of, if you like, went all in on the smart systems. So we've got from the sheet applied to the VARA fluid membrane. It's applied in buckets. You can paint it or roll it or spray it. All of our connections can be dealt with the VARASEAL adhesive tape. It's a really, really high performance product, solid acrylic adhesive, and we can use that or versions of that tape internally, externally. We can use it on sheet applied connections. We can use it from windows, floor connections, pretty much everything. And because of its functions, again, it's hard to use in the wrong location because it'll adapt and allow generally the construction to dry eventually to the exterior. So it is also available in a VARASEAL X. It's a pre-application tape where we can affix it to the window before it's installed into the window opening. So a little closer on some of the products. The Smart Vapor Control Layer itself, VARA Plus, it's a reinforced, durable smart product. So it's designed to be able to take all insulation types. So it can take the weight of the cellulose. It has one of the widest PERM ratings on the market, and you can see how that PERM rate changes as the relative humidity changes. On the tapes themselves, we're incredibly focused on the long-term durability of our products. The tapes themselves, you won't see with our tapes, we won't achieve the best thumbtack, but we most likely will have the best 24-hour strength, and thereafter we'll be comparable kind of with anyone. So again, some of the functions on the VARASEAL product range, it has a fleece cover, means it can accept stucco or render. And it completes the variable system. So we're not limited just to our membrane. It means overlaps, connections, everywhere has that smart function. A more recent development to the system is the VARA fluid. So it's a two-part product. There's a brush applied, which we like to use for closing small gaps. It can be applied first or second, you have choice on that. And the spray or roll-on applied product is really, really impressive for large areas. So if it's a large commercial project and you're applying to, to masonry or to concrete, VARA fluid spray is a really good solution. But the same could be said of tricky or difficult applications. If it's hard to get to, or if it's an inner fit where you've got mixed surfaces, these kind of products can be a real solution. They dry quickly. They're, I suppose, you're able to cover quite a bit of ground in one day, but we do view it as part of an overall system. So things that you will use in combination with the tapes and the sheet applied. Again, a short video on how this product range is applied. So it's always it's a watertight, vapor permeable, low VOC, and can be applied really quickly. It's one of the key products or features of this product. So you can actually apply the 2 coats that you need in one day. It's a product we've worked very hard on for that kind of labor reason, or the labor saving. So 2 coats in one day, and we can apply one thicker coat if we need to. Here you can see the brush applied being used to seal the floor connection where the joints and the possibly some movement could be allowed for. I want to go a little bit further in some kind of maybe more local analysis of how the VARA system works, in this case, in a retrofit situation in Brooklyn. So we took a standard 12-inch brick wall. It was to be insulated internally to achieve fit, and the decision then was, how do we deal with the airtightness and the sealing? So it was modeled in 3 different ways. One, with the VARA fluid applied to the brick and then the insulation, and then also with the VARA fluid applied to the brick, then the insulation, then VARA plus the sheet applied on the interior. We also modeled it with just the VARA Plus on the interior. So you can see there's also a service cavity allowed for. It's something we always, that's the light blue, that's something we always look for, and it helps to maintain and protect the airtight layer. This is our output. Again, we're looking at moisture or water content over time. The first one is modeled with the VARA fluid, so spray applied onto the existing brick. Then the insulation and the VARA Plus. So we can see moisture content percentage is actually pretty much 0. So it ends up as a really, really safe type of construction, absolutely no risk. It's quite similar in the second one, that is the bottom left. In this case, the VARA fluid isn't applied to the brick, it's just the VARA Plus or VARA fluid on the internal side of the insulation. Again, no risk. If we did it the other way around and managed to get our layering in correct, we could have a situation where the moisture content in the insulation would be too high, and ultimately that would be a construction failure. You could look at having issues with condensation on the brick itself. So really important that we keep our airtight layer, or the smart layer, on the interior of the insulation. Again, this is another low energy project, but for me, not an optimum, but it is one that we see quite a bit of. So it's a Roxul cavity rock, a 1/2-inch plywood, and an extruded polystyrene insulation outside that. Then an air layer, and then a spruce kind of timber cladding. So I guess most of us here might know that the extruded polystyrene insulation is not breathable. So it's going to make it a tricky type of system to be safe. So this one again modeled with and without VARA Plus. There isn't a really significant difference in the overall moisture content, but the real kind of information is here. The graph on the top shows the moisture content over time. You tend to find with buildups where there's something unbreathable on the outside that the moisture content may not always decrease, but it's really about what is the average level overall. So when there's no VARA Plus allowed, it was reaching about 17.5% moisture content in the plywood. So for us, we're looking at potential failures in plywood from 17.5% up, from there and on. So it's, absolutely right on the risk category. So we recommended that the VARA Plus product be introduced, and it brought the maximum down to about, just under 16%. So, far from optimum, but infinitely better than it was, and, ultimately a safe approach. We have completed the range with quite a range of different products, but you can see here a pre-compressed tape. It also carries the variable technology, so it's still a smart product. It allows the moisture movement in both directions, but it's a really clever approach for city living in that it gives us up to 64 dB sound protection from outside. So essentially it completes the window install. So, basically the corner or the edges of the window provide the same sound insulation as the window itself. These products are equally suitable for the exterior as they are for the interior. The range follows on to include all of the maybe types of well-known flexible sealants, flexible tapes. On the top right, you can see a grommet, and there's a huge range of those products. So we're all, I suppose, trying to find ways to complete a full system so that there's no shortfalls in the range or any obstacles to achieving the final airtightness. It's a nice kind of short video and maybe showing some of the internal testing that we can do with adhesives. And it gives quite a nice demonstration of 24-hour cure on adhesive and what can happen with significant pressure. So with our tapes, we're looking at really high shear strengths, something that we know will outlast the components it's adhered to. We're also focused on the exterior, or equally focused, and again viewed as part of a system. So we work on monolithic, long life exterior products that complement the smart system. We're always working on durability, and certainly for the exterior, that's critical. The Partel products can typically last 15 times longer than some of the very kind of low cost but still breathable products. We have found that thermal bridging is also an area that kind of developed with Passive House. The awareness has come from that, and we found a way to produce an incredible completely recycled product that can support windows and doors. So it's a structural insulation produced from plastic bottles. So I want to take a look at two of the products used in two pretty different types of projects. The first is a single family dwelling in Vermont, and the second in a Brooklyn brownstone. So looking at this project, it may not look that difficult from the exterior, but for me, these types of projects kind of have everything. They have, on the first photo is a basement, and I guess the first one of these projects I saw, you're wondering kind of how is it going to end up airtight? How do you actually do it? Because, from that basement, making that airtight, dealing with the water ingress. The second photo, you can see not just the quality of the brick, but also that there's timbers, mortise and tenon timbers that have quite large cracks that actually go into the brick. So really, really tricky to seal and make airtight. So it requires a lot of dedication, patience from the installer. And the last photo, you can see that we're generally in these kind of retrofits, we're dealing with, maybe 5 or 6 different types of surfaces. So here, some of the parge coat was okay, some of it wasn't. Some of the brick was well pointed and more of it wasn't. So the idea here was to remove pretty much everything that was loose. So anything that could come off easily was taken off. And we then started, or I should say we, Kevin Brennan of Brennan & Brennan, started the application process. So when his end results look great and they look really polished and finished, it kind of doesn't show the the hard yards that would have went in to take it from this to this. So it's applied. If we're focusing on the black product, that's the VARA fluid product, applied in 2 to 3 passes. Generally it's 2, but in these types of situation where the brick is so bad, it would have actually had a 3rd pass where maybe some of the gaps in the brick became visible. So while it's kind of not just we apply the product and we forget about it, it's definitely something that requires some attention to detail to get those final results. We can also see that there's a different approach taken to the front and rear of the building and the party walls. Party walls receive VARA fluid only, whereas the front and rear have an interior stud which will be insulated, and the VARA plus sheet applied membrane will be taken through each floor and affixed to the inside of the studs afterwards. So you can see how that kind of a starting finish out. It allows us to connect the variable range fully from party walls to exterior, and then kind of work towards the window application. So that's kind of what's coming next. The window install, and again, really difficult in these projects. So first there would have been some preparation work on the windows themselves. This window had two types of tape used on it. It had VARASEAL X applied on the window frame itself before it was inserted into the opening, and from the exterior, VARASEAL was applied on the outside and rendered over or stuccoed over. I suppose airtightness isn't always just about applying the products and walking away. The blower door is an integral part of that. So you can kind of see here, I guess they're achieving at this point 1.1 air changes at 50 pascals, but from the photo in the middle, you can see that the team at Brennan are identifying air leakage. So they're still finding faults, they're not finished. So the blower door, very much part of the process. You know, however good you might be at applying the products, it's just part of the process in terms of getting that end result. So yeah, a standalone single family home in Vermont. Quite a nice test of our adhesives at low temperatures, so quite happy to see that and the results. I suppose these products were applied maybe in a non-traditional way, in that the timber frame was installed first and then the VARA Plus, so absolutely no issue to do it in this way. So it was prepared and established for cellulose installation using I-beams from inside to outside. The contractor is Montpellier Construction. You can kind of maybe get a better idea and kind of see how the VARA plus layer is carried right the way through the building. So that probably was one of the trickier details. How do you move it from outside to inside? But yeah, they did get really interesting results. So below 1 air changes at 50 again. And yeah, really long-term kind of safe end results for the occupants and homeowners. So I think, as usual, I've probably spoken a little quicker than intended, and very happy to take any questions on anything you might have now.
I probably would start with one question. You showed those foam tapes for the windows to connect to the masonry wall. Can you use that for what's that construction, or is it just for masonry kind of walls?
No, you can use it in either. They're a really interesting product. So you can see kind of the 3 or 4 layers in the product. So typically it actually has an air tightness and wind tightness built in. So if we flash the reveal of the window, kind of as we would normally in wooden construction, there's no issue. It'll complete the envelope with the install for us. So you can use it in place of an air or wind tight tape. So it can give you quite nice details from the exterior for the visuals, if you want a shadow line or something a little bit neater on the exterior.
That doesn't need to be caulked or concealed.
Yeah, I probably didn't focus enough on that actually. Yeah, it's definitely caulk is not a good thing. So it's a one-time application. It's not going to crack and break or create moisture issues. So it's got a, it's covered by our warranty, but that particular product is something that we could look at lasting again with the windows. So it'll outlast what it's attached to. Yes, so a really high quality way of completing the window envelope.
Yeah, I can attest to that. We've used it in a couple of projects when installing some of our windows. So it's been a good addition to our new way of installing.
Yeah, the important thing with those tapes is to choose the right dimension for the window, for the gap that you're closing. So if the tape is for, a 1/2 inch or as a maximum, you really shouldn't use it for any bigger than that, or you could have issues with I suppose, achieving the air tightness you planned.
I have one from Charles Wall. It's a two-part question. I don't know if Charles is still on, if you would like to expand on it, or I can just read it. In the first graph example, what is PE, polyethylene sheet?
Correct.
And what is the desirable moisture level? Are the units given in metric?
Are the units given in, could you say the last part again, please?
Yeah. What is the desirable moisture level? Units given in metric.
Okay, it's a good question. I guess what we're looking at here is the overall moisture content in the construction. So it's actually, when we run WFI analysis, it's the first graph we look at. So we want to see how the construction is performing as an overall, but it's not really specific enough. So we can get a good idea, but really the second analysis that I've shown you, where we're actually zoning in on an actual layer in the construction, that's kind of more telling or more important. So maybe on the left-hand side of this graph, you can see we actually build a model in WFI. So each layer has a thickness, and we can, I suppose, digitally monitor each layer, how it performs over time. So yeah, overall, you're looking at, you know, the general moisture content, and then after that, maybe the main focus will be the product that is most likely to fail. So in this case, it's the plywood, you know, that's your at-risk layer.
Thank you. And the second part is, I'm guessing it's, what are the PERM ratings for the film and liquid products at different temperatures?
Yeah, probably struggle to answer that one off the top of my head. So it's related to temperature and relative humidity. What I might say, Charles, if you wanted to drop me a line, I can send you far more detailed answer on that, but it's very much tested to a particular standard, which kind of ends up with these PERM ratings. It's a complicated answer to get into that I wouldn't have exact kind of figures on the temperatures and humidities for all products at the top of my tongue.
Do you think that you will develop a product that could be applied on the exterior of bricks that doesn't have to be covered by any other membrane? And I guess I can add to that, because I was going to ask you, I saw that the first application with spray was a gold color, but then the second was black, and I wonder if there's a difference. So maybe that can tie into that same question.
Yeah, I guess we've two different colors in the spray applied. So the gold color it's migrating towards that, I guess, away from the black. So currently in the US, it's blue to black. So it's sprayed blue and dries to black, but we are changing that to, I guess, something a little more palatable for the guys fitting it. And it also helps to identify leaks in the bricks. So if you're looking at a light color and you've got a dark color behind, you can more easily identify the, maybe, you know, little pinholes or things like that that might exist through gaps in the brick. The other question about applying a product to the exterior of the brick, I'm guessing that's to help achieve airtightness, but that's not really something you can do from a building physics point of view. We need to have the airtight layer on the warm side of the insulation. So if we put it on the outside, it's going to create some problems. It is where buildings aren't listed and it's possible to apply insulation to the exterior. For sure, it's okay to apply the VARA fluid product to the outside of the building as your airtight layer, and you can then apply your exterior insulation.
Yeah, it's the protected buildings. It is always an issue because, like, particularly like the brick that we've had in New York City tends to be that rear face of buildings tends to be extremely porous, and having it to the point that, you know, too much moisture will get in, particularly when you insulate the interior. So, you know, there are products out there that inhibit, you know, the siloxane treatments, but, you know, I think that this question was probably looking to see whether you were looking at that at all in terms of your product suite.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, we know those products kind of exist and we'll often recommend them if the WFI analysis is actually recommending it or saying that it improves the construction. I guess you try not to use those products if you can, for a couple of reasons, but maybe the main one is that it has to be reapplied. So
Yep.
yeah, that that has an obvious problem. So if you can avoid it, it's nice. But rain is quite a big factor in final solid wall building failure.
And I'm guessing you have to make sure that the surfaces are completely dry before you apply any of this.
Exactly. Yeah. It doesn't work well with sequencing, but yeah, now and then it's necessary. But yeah, you should. These products actually help quite a lot. The smart products, so they can help to take some of the load from the exterior. But yeah, generally you are looking to make sure the brick is well pointed, weather sealed, and you're only dealing with what is coming through the soft brick itself.
And what's the general durability of your product in years?
Yeah, I mean, there is some companies who focus on things like, I suppose, a particular age. What we're sure of is that we're working towards lifetimes of products. So we're sure that our adhesive doesn't age. As a result, it means that we expect whatever our product is attached to, our product will outlast it. So yeah, I'm sure, 100, 150 years, we can expect our adhesives to outlast their application lifespan.
Then the next question from John O'Sullivan. I thought with EWI, breathability of XPS, no problem because used on outside of building, so wall never gets cold or wet. Don't have to worry about vapor control. Yeah, it's kind of a phrasing. I guess I don't know if I got it right.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine if there was no vapor coming from the interior. So the actual risk in this, or the buildup, so each typical dwelling, with let's say 4 people, is generating 8 to 15 liters of water vapor per day. So that's the source of the vapor that's getting into the construction. It's not actually from the outside. So that needs to either be prevented from entering the construction or have a route out. Obviously your ventilation system helps with that, but yeah, it is the interior humid conditions that we're dealing with.
Right, then do you, I guess, are these 2 case study projects available for sharing?
Yeah, I can make the presentation available, or if someone wants kind of more information, I'd be more than happy to deal with that directly and provide kind of technical advice on similar situations, or generally to consult on a project. So we do it. It's not really product sales; it's more consultative sales. So we'd be happy to guide someone through a project.
We can make that presentation available on our website, and we'll send everyone the recording and also use contact info so you can follow up.
Great, thanks, Andreas.
Yeah, then I have a question that I guess it's also relevant to me from Joseph Reyes. What about for humid climates? Which side of the insulation?
Yeah, great question. We have to look at it differently. The easiest answer in that is, make sure we do WFI analysis on it. So, we take your suggested construction, we take the actual location, we'll get a real climate data from that, or as close as we can to it, and we'll carry out a detailed test and see how it performs, make the adjustments and make sure it's safe. But yeah, kind of, if for your climate, you could be looking at things in reverse.
But in general, base it on the warm side, so in a hot, humid climate, probably more towards the exterior of your wall.
Yeah, the risk is from the outside, kind of, it's the opposite way around, really. So the humidity is high from the outside rather than from the inside, or higher.
Yeah, for the air-conditioned building, I guess. It's cool.
Yeah, it gets tricky in residential though, because there's a lot of pushback on having to have your house airtight, meaning no opening windows and no opening doors. So, it's a very tricky situation I found. Having the load of the moisture high on both sides, it's something that could happen. So it's a tricky situation.
Yeah, I guess it's education, isn't it? That people need to know, what it is they're getting and kind of how to use it.
Yeah, having a little book for, like an owner's manual on how to run your house, kind of like getting
Yeah,
a piece of
good idea.
technology. And
Sure.
the last question from Oleg Slivinsky. Hey, Oleg. Who carries your product in the US?
We carry it ourselves, Oleg, so it's direct sales. So yeah, you can just absolutely contact us, reach out, and we'll guide you through it.
I have
If
a
I
quick
may.
one to follow up on that. Do you keep stock
Yeah.
here in the US or do you ship from Ireland?
No, it's in Connecticut, so yeah,
Perfect.
same as anyone else, really. We ship by container to Connecticut, and it's 1 or 2 days delivery to the tri-state.
Yeah, just one more question. For the tapes and the
Yep.
40 decibel rating, is that tested just on the tape? Like, is it ASTM E90 tested? Does it
Yeah,
have?
that tape has a lot of local testing, actually. Yeah, so it's really good. It's on our website, the testing standards. So yeah, that DB rating is tested.
John asks if you're gonna do a webinar on your ventilation products eventually.
Us, we don't retail those ventilation products in the US, so no, I would say for that.
Are you
Yeah,
gonna retail them eventually, or?
we don't think so. No, we're really more focused on the air speciality of the tapes membranes, and that's really our key area for the US.
What technical support do you offer to designers?
I mean, I would say it's pretty unlimited. We're, I'm an engineer myself. So yeah, I don't want to say there isn't a question we haven't answered, but we're pretty open in that regard. So it's a totally consultative process. What is the question? And we do enjoy kind of getting into that and finding out what's different or what's needed to make something work. So we're absolutely open in that regard, and yeah, you'll be dealing with somebody knowledgeable for the questions you have.
Do you offer wealthy consultations or calculations?
Yeah, we do. We do it pretty much as part of a support for our product range. So if you're kind of talking to us and you want to use the product, we'll carry that out as a free service. We really just want to be sure that your products are installed correctly, and that's an important step.
And I guess you ship to the West Coast as well, right? If someone wants to order in California.
Yeah, we're fine with that. Yeah, no problems.
Last question is just if, the email is going to be available for Hugh, which I'm assuming it will on the presentation, and I guess the rollout of the email for the video of the
You're going to send
presentation.
it out, Andreas, I guess.
We will send out both the recording and the recording will send out, and we will post the recording and the presentation on the website for everyone to.
Okay, great.
So I would like to thank Hugh and Partel for presenting, and Jose and Kayla for assisting with the question and answer. And I would like to remind everyone that we have a very interesting presentation next week on Tuesday at 5 p.m. carbon emission evaluation for passive houses. So it should be very interesting. So join us next week, Tuesday at 5 p.m. And thanks everyone for joining, and thanks you for presenting.
Most welcome. Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Thanks everyone.
Bye, guys.